Hello all, welcome to the second in the How to Trade in Saudi series by the Big Five Saudi. Today we'll be covering an exclusive preview of the upcoming construction projects happening in Saudi Arabia at the moment in partnership with Ed James from MEED Projects, who is the Director of Content and Analysis. I'm just going to hand over to Ed now. Please, can I just remind everyone to be using Google Chrome just because it works better for the audio, and introducing now Edward.
Thanks, Alexia. Yes, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you all, depending on where you are. It's a pleasure to be back here again, giving an exclusive webinar and update on some of the key future construction projects in Saudi Arabia. So over the next 20-30 minutes or so, I'll be giving an outlook on some of those key projects, giving some of the details, and give you an update on their progress and their scope, and potentially how you can take advantage of these opportunities yourselves and win work or deliver materials on them. Now, as with all these presentations and webinars, I'd love to hear your questions. So if you if you do have any questions or clarifications or even feedback, please enter your question in your comments in the text box there, and at the end of the presentation I'll be more than happy to try and answer them. So if anything pops into your mind as we go along, please enter it and we'll come back to that question later on. Okay, so without further ado, let's kick off the first of the half dozen or so projects in Saudi Arabia that we're going to focus on today. And we're going to start off with the biggest one of all, the giant Neom project, which I'm sure many of you have heard about and know a little about. It's a $500 billion project. It's, I believe, perhaps the world's largest single project. It involves essentially the development and creation of an entire new city in the far northwest region of Saudi Arabia. Currently, it's an empty desert area, very undeveloped. It sits near the Jordanian border and the Sinai Peninsula. You can see a glimpse of the area here. And essentially, the government in Saudi Arabia wants to turn this into a tourist and an industrial-driven city project to create jobs, to develop new economies and new sectors in Saudi Arabia, and to try to diversify away from oil and gas. So it's a very exciting new project. It's going to take 10, 20, maybe 30 years to fully develop. Its key master owner is the Saudi Public Investment Fund, which is one of the world's largest investment funds with more than $400 billion in assets. And as you can see from the details here, the area of Neom covers 26,500 square kilometers. It's a truly enormous area, and it extends along 450 kilometers of coastline along in Saudi Arabia, along the Red Sea coast. It's totally untouched, totally undeveloped, and offers some fantastic tourism opportunities as well. So clearly the project of this size is going to take many years to develop, as I said, and at the moment progress has already started on the project, moving along quite well. Some key government buildings have been developed over the last couple of years. You may have seen that the airport to the region, Neom, was recently opened, allowing for easy access for tourists, developers, investors, and material supplies and so on. And the government is now gearing up for other key infrastructure packages to enable work to really commence in a major way in the area. So cement plants will have to be built, ready-mix matching plants, desalination, wastewater treatment facilities, road accesses, substation, overhead lines, power facilities. All these kind of key investments are required in order to develop a logistics base and for the development of the project to kick off. Now, like many of these projects under the Saudi 2030 vision and the development along the Red Sea coast in general, a lot of the investment is expected to come from the private sector, particularly from foreign investors looking to tap into the tourism potential on this in this area. Clearly, we've got some amazing wildlife and some wilderness here untouched beaches, great diving spots, coral reefs, and so actually it's something that's looked at by the world's major hotel chains and tourism developers with great interest. Another key component of the project is a causeway linking Saudi Arabia and Egypt across the Tiran Straits here, and this will enable easy access for Egyptian tourists to travel into Neom, and also for Saudi nationals to travel into Egypt. Just down here on the Sinai Peninsula in Egypt is Sharm el-Sheikh. I'm sure many of you know that. It's a great, as well-known holiday resort, and it'd be easy to connect the two countries across this causeway. So that's another key component of the project. So it's a very exciting opportunity. It's being developed by PAF. If you are interested in winning work there, or tendering, or being part of the project, then I'd advise registering with the PIF to ensure that you are part of the vendors list and being able to be invited for the key construction packages and subcontracts when they are tendered. So that's clearly a project that is going to dominate the headlines for many years to come, and is one of the reasons why there is so much interest in the Saudi Arabia projects market these days. So there you are. You can see in more detail the size of the area. This really is a huge, massive, undeveloped area of land that is going to be developed for the first time. And you can see there's plenty of scope for some massive projects there. Okay, another project now, which is which is a key component of the 2030 Saudi Vision, is Qiddiya. This is a quite different focus. This is basically the development of a huge new leisure and tourism destination about 45 minutes outside of Riyadh. And the key driver for this project is really the understanding within the kingdom that there are a lack of entertainment options for local nationals within Saudi Arabia. Currently, local national Saudis will travel to Dubai, or they'll travel overseas to Disneyland or Universal Studios if they want to go to a theme park or leisure destination. And this really is about trying to retain this huge domestic market by developing, and internally and domestically, a theme park resort that's going to be twice the size of Disneyland. It's got an estimated value currently of about $4 billion, and that's really probably an underestimate given the scale of what's being planned. But it's a really fascinating project. It's going to feature 5 theme parks. It's going to have parks and attractions. There's going to be hiking and sports and wellness facilities. There's going to be a nature reserve. There's a lot of emphasis on arts and culture as well. It's really going to be a one-stop shop for everyone's tourism, leisure, and entertainment requirements in Saudi Arabia. The developer is the Qiddiya Investment Company. Again, it's a component of the Saudi Public Investment Fund, which is driving this project, along with many other projects on the Saudi 2030 Vision in the kingdom. And the master plan has recently been released and approved, and work is already underway, again, on the infrastructure side of things, to build the access road infrastructure, the utilities, the wastewater treatment, the water transmission systems, the electricity and substations, and so on, in order for work to be able to start on the above ground physical infrastructure for the site. It's a really, you maybe can't tell from this image, but it's a really fascinating geographical area. It sits in a canyon between 2 giant cliff faces. It's a really beautiful area. In fact, you get a bit of a better idea from this image here, and you can see here there's 2 giant. It's a giant canyon basically with giant cliff faces on either side. It's a really beautiful spot that is going to be developed, and you get an idea from this image of the kind of how it's going to look and feel. You can see there's going to be a racing track. There's a lot of emphasis on race driving. There's going to be obviously tourism elements to it. There's a lot of outdoor activities. and of course the the usual sort of Six Flag type theme park destinations of roller coasters and so on. And of course, it's not going to attract just the population of Riyadh and Saudi Arabia in general, but it's expected that there will be lots of other visitors coming into the kingdom who will be able to enjoy this. Now, clearly, Saudi Arabia can get very hot in the summer months, and the project is being designed to be an all-year-round tourism destination. So there will be lots of concepts applied to make it green and use renewable energies to keep it cool, and employ LEED ratings to ensure that the maximum efficiencies can be gained from energy use and conservation on the project. Again, so to take part in this project and to benefit from and potentially win some of the projects and supply materials and other key equipment to it, it will be, I would thoroughly recommend registering now with the Qiddiya development company. It's got its own website up and running. You can register as a vendor there, whether you're a contractor, subcontractor, or supplier. It's a good time to start getting ready and registering with the procurement team at Qiddiya. It's already, as I said, the master plan has been revealed and approved, and currently Qiddiya are also speaking to several dozen architects from around the world for some of the key designs for various different elements of the project. So again, like Neom, this is going to provide work for many years to come, and is a key component of this big projects push and projects investment drive in the kingdom over the next decade or so, and is a good, and for good reason, is something that is getting people very, very excited. And there's no better time than to be part of it than now, before things really kick off. And again, another very similar sort of driven project is the Red Sea tourism project. This is again part of the Saudi 2030 vision under the Saudi Public Investment Fund, the PIF. And this is essentially the tourism development of an unspoilt, undeveloped part of the Red Sea coastline, not far from Rabigh on the west coast of Saudi Arabia, within easy access of Jeddah and Mecca. And this is basically the kingdom saying, we've got this beautiful, untouched coastline, and we want to develop a tourism infrastructure there. We want to become a major tourism destination, and we want to make the use of our bountiful resources to attract people to the kingdom, as well as to serve our own people. So this is, again, covering a huge area, some 28,000 square kilometers, and not many people are fully aware of the geography of the Red Sea coast along Saudi Arabia, but there are literally dozens and dozens of untouched islands which can be developed, coral reefs, great diving locations, clear blue water, which the authorities want to take advantage of. So dozens of new hotels will be part of this project. The high-end tourism resorts and mid-end as well. It's going to be a new residential area, as you can see, for 12,000 residential units, and a city essentially of 58,000 people to service and to service the tourism element of this project. So you can see here from this photo, of this rendering rather, the kind of how it's going to look. You can see here a bit more detail how the master plan envisages the project to be, and how green and potentially exciting such a project will be. You can see a Ferris wheel here. You can see how you can have lagoons, and using the natural topography of the area to create a beautiful tourism site. Now, this project is a little bit more advanced than the previous two projects we discussed, Neom and Qiddiya. You may have seen in the news recently, contracts for the first hotel was awarded this week. We've also got the first contract awarded for a temporary bridge to connect to the islands to deliver key building materials. And there are also tenders out for utilities, which will be done on a PPP basis. So you can have a solar power desalination and wastewater treatment, wind power, everything that is a real renewable focus, to have 100% for it to be completely dependent on 100% renewable energy. Private sector is going to be heavily involved in this project. The government is looking for private international investors as well as domestic investors to come in to develop tourism resorts and projects as part of this project. Again, the whole aim of this project is to diversify the economy, to create jobs, and to develop new sectors and really exploit the kingdom's fantastic tourism potential. So I know many of you are interested in, will have questions about things like visas and how it's possible to invest in the kingdom. The authorities on all these projects are talking about new visa regimes, about new investment-friendly regimes that will allow people to travel into the kingdom more easily, to to bypass some of the red tape, to create some additional incentives for people to come into the kingdom. And so in terms of project development, progress is being made, but in terms of strategy and policy, the government is also aware that it needs to improve the ability of people to be able to come into the kingdom, and that's going hand in hand with these projects. Just a reminder again, if you could ask any questions that come to your mind in the chat box when we've completed the presentation, I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. So keep them coming, and we'll come to them in due course. Right, on the other side of Saudi Arabia, on the Gulf Coast, is a slightly different type of project, a transport project, and this is equally important to the financial health of both Saudi Arabia and Bahrain. And this is the King Hamad Causeway. So this is a second causeway linking the island kingdom of Bahrain with Saudi Arabia. Currently, there is only one roadway in to Bahrain, that's the King Fahd Causeway, and it's increasingly congested and jammed, particularly at weekends and in the morning and evening rush hours. And the plan is to develop a road and rail link between Saudi Arabia and Bahrain called the King Hamad Causeway. Now, the intention from the authorities is for this to be developed entirely by the private sector, so on a PPP basis. So private investors will come in, finance, build, and operate the project, and gain a return on their investment by tolling the traffic that uses the causeway. The client is the King Fahd Causeway Authority, and they're currently tendering the key advisory contracts, financial and legal advisory contracts, to help with this PPP process. So Bahrain is just off the map here. This is the King Fahd Causeway. You can see here the border posts in the middle, and it links with Khobar on the eastern province of Saudi Arabia. And this new King Hamad Causeway is going to be, as I said, a road and rail link that will link the two countries, two kingdoms together, and provide an alternative route into Bahrain and vice versa into Saudi Arabia. It will arrive in the northern part of Bahrain Island and then link directly to Bahrain's airport. And because there's a rail link as well as part of this causeway, it will also link to the Saudi railway network, and eventually through to the GCC rail network, linking all 6 GCC states. So as I mentioned, the advisory contract is out to bid at the moment, and earlier this year the authorities held a workshop for interested investors in the project, and more than 70 companies attended. So there's huge interest amongst the local and international private sector and investors to develop and invest in such a project, because they know that demand for traffic between the two kingdoms is very strong, and it's an excellent investment rationale. Okay, the final, I think, project we're looking at today is another very large project indeed. This is the King Abdulaziz Road project, otherwise known as the Kaar Gateway, the Kaar Gateway. And this is in Mecca, the holy city of Mecca. And Mecca is a kind of special market due to the huge number of pilgrims that attend Hajj and Umrah throughout the year to visit the Kaaba and the Holy Mosque. and it's a very old city that over the years has been underdeveloped. And the aim of this project is to develop the main roadway leading up to the Holy Mosque. And this image here gives you, I guess, a kind of an idea of the scale of the project. Dozens and dozens of high-rise towers featuring hotels, luxury and mid-rise. Obviously, the demand for tourism in Mecca is very high due to pilgrimage. It's also going to have shopping malls, museums, leisure facilities as well for visitors, and is going to be a truly huge and very exciting project. Now, the developer for the project is Al Qura. They've been developing this project for a while now, but it's only in recent months that the project is really picking up speed. Recently, 2 tenders were issued for 2 high-rise hotel towers projects on the gateway, and they've also just this week tendered the PMC contract for that same development. I'm just going to move on to the full image here. You can see just how enormous this project is here. There's off the side of the screen is the Holy Mosque, and you can see here the Abdulaziz project, the huge clock tower that overlooks the Kaaba. And here you've got the Kaar Gateway project, multiple tower projects, huge investment, billions of dollars required over the next 5-10 years or so to transform this area and thereby creating hundreds of individual contract opportunities for both contractors and suppliers alike. So this is just more of a government-funded project as well as a real estate project. So future off-plan sales will be driven by investors as well. But it's clearly something that's going to create a lot of project opportunities in the months and years to come. So another very exciting project. So as you can see from some of these projects, we've gone through about half a dozen today, but each one is in the billions of dollars. Overall, we've got some $1.2 trillion of projects in the pipeline in Saudi Arabia across all sectors. But the largest sector by a long way is the construction market, led by Neom at $500 billion. There were more than 700 to 800 billion dollars of future construction projects in the kingdom, driven by local population growth, driven by the need to develop new sectors, driven by the need to diversify, and it's truly one of the world's great construction market opportunities right now. The scale of what they're planning is really very high, it's really massive, and it's got the full support of King Salman and the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, and is a core component of the Saudi 20 vision. So these are projects which have got full government support, full backing from the Public Investment Fund, and therefore have very strong rationale and strong backers to ensure that they develop and get completed. You can learn more about these projects and meet some of the developers and learn about some of the individual contracts and potentials for supplying equipment and materials to them at the Big 5 Saudi exhibition next March, between 8th and 11th March, as you can see here in Jeddah. I hope myself to be able to see you there. As I said, if you've got any questions, please feel free to ask in the chat box, and I'll do my best to answer them. It can be questions on these projects, it can be questions about anything to do with projects in Saudi Arabia. I'll do my best to ask. Right, so let's see some of the questions. Got some comments here about the visa process is very tedious. Yes, that is very correct. It can take a while to get a visa. It can be expensive. You need an invitation letter, then you have to go to either a third party or the consulate itself to get a visa, which can take a while. And the government is fully recognizes that it needs to streamline this visa process and has made comments and has made it clear that it intends to overhaul the visa process to enable business people and tourists to visit Saudi Arabia more easily. And indeed, if Saudi Arabia is to make these projects like Qiddiya, the Red Sea project, and Neom a success, then they have to, they recognize that they have to do it. Currently, they're talking about making places like Neom and the Red Sea project unique geographical zones, which are kind of like exclaves from Saudi Arabia, where people will be able to have different visa regimes and slightly different laws to travel to. So with any luck, over the next few months, we will see some improvements to the visa process in the kingdom. And as for the next question, which is when these schemes are expected to take place, things are happening now in Saudi Arabia far faster than they've ever happened before. Things like allowing women to drive and so on, allowing cinemas to open. And we expect, it's always difficult to say these things, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see these new visa regulations to come in over the next few months. I've got some questions about the presentation itself and the slides. Everyone who's registered for this webinar will be able to access the slides. We are recording this webinar, and it will be linked to the Big Five website, and a link will be sent to you for you to be able to digest the slides and listen again to the webinar in your own time. Both for people who've attended today and people who have registered in general. So you will get the opportunity to view not just this webinar, but all the other webinars that we are doing as part of the Big Five series in the Middle East. Okay, here's a question about how to register as an architect and turnkey solution provider for interiors, or indeed any other solutions on these projects. And my suggested course of action is to register with each developer. So in the case of Neom, the Neom Development Company, Qiddiya, the Qiddiya Development Company, or the Red Sea Tourism Company, depending on which project you want to register with. And it'd be well worth registering within Saudi Arabia as well to improve that potential. Normally, it's necessary to register and incorporate locally, or at least have a local agent to be able to provide services on projects in the kingdom. So as a first step, talk to your local Saudi Arabia trade office at your local embassy or consulate for Saudi Arabia, and then you need maybe want to start thinking about finding a local agent in the kingdom as well to help you win work and register for different real estate projects in Saudi Arabia. Can you please tell us the name of the companies participating in these projects? Well, multiple companies. I mean, the company which just won the temporary bridge contract, the 3-kilometer bridge between the Saudi mainland and Shurayda Island, where the Red Sea tourism project is being developed as a first stage, is a contractor called Rodon, which is headquartered in Switzerland. So that just goes to show that there are is available opportunities for international companies as well. Saudi Arabia has always been an open market for contractors and suppliers. You don't have to be a Saudi company to win work in Saudi Arabia or supply goods or equipment to them. So that's one example, Rodon. This week, a company called Saudi Amana won the first hotel contract for the Red Sea project, and that is a subsidiary of a UAE company. So again, another international company coming in to win work there. And in terms of, say, for example, the utilities projects supplying power, water, wind energy to the Red Sea project, again, the authorities are pre-qualifying companies from all around the world, like ENGIE of France, American, Sumitomo from Japan, as well as local companies to benefit from this. So again, there's no limitations on being a foreign company or local company. They don't distinguish. Again, a lot of opportunities. On the advisory side, for example, King Hamad Causeway, you've got companies like Deloitte, PwC, KPMG, for example, all helping out. And then the big international engineering firms and consulting firms, Mott MacDonald, for example, Floor, Bechtel, these types of companies, AECOM, are all going to be involved, as well as local architects. And because these are prestige, blue chip developments, some of the world's biggest and best architectural firms are being invited, like Foster and Partners, for example, HOK, SOM, all being involved in these master plans and these key projects. So there's no skimping on budgets on these key projects. They are a key component of Saudi Arabia's future vision, and the Saudi Arabians want to make them perfect projects and not skimp in any areas. Here is a question: what is the situation of big contractors like Saudi Bin Laden, Saudi Ocean, and others? Will there be a new breed of mega contractors for these mega projects? A good question. Some local contractors in Saudi Arabia, like Saudi Ocean, have had some difficult times over the last few years. We've had experienced some lower oil prices, and from that period, 2015 to 2017, it was a difficult period for some companies. And as a result, we're seeing new companies coming in to take advantage of the situation. We've got companies like Nesma and Partners, ABV Rock, for example, Al Rashid, who are becoming top-tier contractors in the kingdom to vie with Saudi Bin Laden for some of these big projects. But at the same time, you've got big opportunities for international firms like B6 out of Belgium. You've got Shapoorji Pallonji, Larsen Toubro from India. You've got, like I said, Archirodon from Switzerland. You've got contractors like Itenera and Salini from Italy, all very large, capable firms which are coming in to take advantage of these projects. So it's going to be a combination of SMEs in Saudi Arabia, but also large Saudi and international contractors as well. How can I register ourselves supplying materials to these projects? Again, this is you should register individually with each developer. At the moment, there's no one central procurement register in Saudi Arabia, so you would need to make sure you're registered, your company and contact details with each developer. And again, this is, I would fully suggest coming to an event like the Big Five in Saudi Arabia in Jeddah next year to meet all these developers face to face, highlight and demonstrate your materials, whether it's interior furnishings or tiling or equipment, whatever. There will be developers there. They're looking for, they've got such big procurement plans. They're looking for as many companies as possible to participate in these projects, small and large. Certainly SMEs as well are being looked at very favorably. And it's a great one-stop shop exhibitions like that to be able to meet many developers, agents, procurers, contractors, subcontractors in one place. And that's exactly the kind of reason and rationale for exhibitions like this, is for people to be able to tick off many of these companies in one visit, as well as being able to highlight their materials. We're fully hopeful that companies like the Red Sea Development Company, Neom, Qiddiya, and so on, among many others, will also be present and speaking and presenting their projects at the event as well. Okay, the stage of Neom was listed under construction. Can you elaborate who are the main contractors that were awarded? So Neom is at quite an early stage, and the reason we say it's under construction, that's because first works have started, but in reality, the project is going to be under construction for a good 2 decades at least. And the contractors have already been successful. Bin Laden has come in and won some contracts, as had Nesma and Partners. I think Al Mabani is also there. So there are some local firms already active in Neom project. At the moment, I'm not aware of international firms having won work yet, but it's still very, very early days. And the key infrastructure and construction projects are still some way from tender. So still early days there, and but already some significant work has been awarded. And Can you give us a list of developers for registration? And I've also got, can I have a list of projects in Saudi Arabia? You have my email address on this presentation. Please email me and I'll see what I can do. Alternatively, you can see on this final slide here, there are some inquiries. I'm sure the DMG team will be happy to help answer any questions you might have about the exhibition and maybe how to get a visa to attend the event and how you can potentially exhibit your materials and meet some key procurers at the event. All right, what other questions do we have? Keep them coming, please. Some very good questions here. Okay, I've got a question right at the end here. Can you send us the exhibition floor plan along with the current registered exhibitors list so far, and of course the price per square meter? Alexia, I don't know if you perhaps you're better positioned to answer that question.
Of course, we can send that through. Someone will follow up from our team, but if you'd like some more information straight away, you can email us at info@thebig5saudi.com, but we will have someone come email you and get in touch regarding that.
You can see here again, if you haven't, there's telephone numbers, email addresses, there's the website here. We've also got Facebook, on Twitter, LinkedIn, if you want to know more about the exhibition. Comment here, investment by the government always pushes the economy, but if private companies are participating, then how will the funds be managed? If the purpose is to enhance jobs and tourism, then is there World Bank funding for the project? The World Bank doesn't tend to finance projects very often in the GCC simply because of the GDP of each economy in the region is quite high, and therefore they don't necessarily always need international funding for projects like this. But this is clearly looking for private sector investors, big hotel groups like Marriott, Kerzner, for example. Virgin have expressed interest in investing in tourism along the Red Sea. So part of the role of the Neom Development Company and Red Sea Development Company is to hold negotiations and roadshows with private sector investors from around the world to encourage them to invest and explain the rationale for these projects along the Red Sea. So certainly I expect to see the announcements of some of the first big private sector investments to be made very soon. Okay, I will get round to answering everyone's questions if you just bear with me. Just going through them all, make sure I haven't got any have been missed. Let me see, let's have a look. Can we scroll up a bit more? Just bear with us while we just check all the questions that we've answered them all. And please, if you have any questions in general about anything else in Saudi Arabia, project-wise, not just these projects, I'll be more than happy to answer them. Of course, these are just some of the key projects in the kingdom. There are many other large significant projects. There are also under under the PIF, the Saudi Public Investment Fund, is the Amala project, which is also on the Red Sea. Again, another high-end tourism destination. That's another opportunity which you can find out about at the Big Five Saudi. And what else we have? They have Al Ula project, which is around the Madain Saleh UNESCO World Heritage Site. One of the amazing things about Saudi Arabia is some of the really incredible archaeological sites, similar to Petra, which many people haven't heard of and which are basically undeveloped in the kingdom. And it's certainly that is certainly worth a visit, and the Kingdom recognises this and is developing sites around these. One of those is called Al Ula. Jean Nouvel architects are currently involved with developing the master plan for that, and that is something that is also another very interesting project. There's a question: do you think that visa issues can be resolved and more accessible by the time of the Big Five? Well, frankly speaking, I think if you are planning to visit or exhibit at the Big Five, then it shouldn't be a challenge to obtain a visa, especially if you get an invitation letter. I suggest you get in touch with the Big Five organizers, DMG. You can see here again, email address of Hassan Al-Wail and Shivani Pereira. You've got their email addresses there and their telephone numbers. If you do have questions about how to get a visa, how to participate in the event, please just drop an email or call to DMG, and I'm sure they'll be more than happy to help you. But if you are attending the event, it shouldn't be a problem to get a visa. It's not easy. It can be a laborious process to get a visa, but generally it's not that difficult if you have a good reason to come to Saudi Arabia. Is there a central registry for security products related to construction? For security products, one of the things that I would recommend doing, obviously, is apart from having a local agent or partner to help distribute or win work in the kingdom, is to register with the Ministry of Interior to get approval for those security products, as well as maybe the National Guard and Ministry of Defence. That would certainly be benefit, because they obviously are key procurers for security products in the kingdom. And then also, of course, to individually register with each developer. These have gone through today about 10 or so developers, but of course there are many, many more on the private sector side as well as the public side. And it's a good idea to register with them all locally, individually. Now, the government recently announced in the last couple of weeks a new procurement law, which they say they will hopefully streamline and make it easier to be registered for procurement in the kingdom. The details of this new procurement law are still a bit hazy, but what I expect to happen is that it'll be easier to track projects and opportunities in the kingdom, as well as to register and apply and bid for contracts. Again, this is part of the drive in the kingdom to make it easier to do business in Saudi Arabia, also to make things more transparent, and to make it easier for investors to come in and win work in the kingdom. Here's a question: I'm planning to exhibit, but I want to learn more about the country legislation about the import of some products or materials to Saudi Arabia. Do you help in such matters, or provide the proper links to inquire about it, if possible? Suleiman, I'm sure if you send an email to DMG, they will be perhaps happy to highlight some links and maybe to pass you on to someone who can help. With anything like this, it's always useful to take some legal advice, speak to the trade investment agency for Saudi Arabia in their local embassy or consulate who can help you more. Clearly that you have to be, there are certain standards that have to be met for material imports. Things have to be halal, for example. If it's food-wise, you need to have an imports license and certificate. There are sort of legislations and regulations you have to adhere to. Can't really go into those as part of this webinar, but I'm sure if you email us, we will be happy to direct you to someone who knows, who's an expert on this and who can help you. Regarding the webinar itself, as I mentioned, you will get a link to it, full recorded webinar with the prep slides and the audio, and you'll be able to listen to this in your own time, distribute it, share it with your colleagues, friends, that you will get the opportunity to do that. And I should also point out that this is the second webinar I've done on Saudi Arabia and doing business in Saudi Arabia. You can find the previous one I did, which is on some of the data around the size of the project market and the key clients, on the Big Five website. You can also find it on YouTube if you search for Big Five Saudi and DMG, there are already some webinars I've done on Saudi Arabia and other GCC markets if you are interested. Right, what other question? How can I scroll up here? Let's have a look. So last chance for questions, and so if you do have any or comments, please feel free to ask them in the chat box. Now is your opportunity. I will be giving more webinars starting again in September on both Saudi Arabia and other markets in the GCC like Dubai and Egypt. Let's have a look. Import duties on goods will be reduced. I'm not aware of any plan by Saudi Arabia to reduce import duties. I think there's a fairly low import duty depending on the product already applied in Saudi Arabia. Clearly, the Saudi Arabian authorities are keen on developing a local industrial base and developing, creating jobs and diversifying locally. But I therefore not aware or sure of plans to reduce import duties at this moment in time. But of course, I could be wrong, and I'm not privy to the exact goings on with the government and what they plan to do there. So we'll be closing off this webinar in a couple of minutes. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to ask them. Recently, Saudi government banned expats in hospitality industry. Well, I think this ties in with and how will this impact these projects? I think this ties in with what I just said about the government wishing to diversify the economy and create jobs. As you all probably are aware, as a large expat population in Saudi Arabia, working in the private sector, and the government wishes to transfer these jobs to local nationals and kind of relieve the dependence on international labour. With regards to these projects, certainly a lot of them are designed to create jobs for Saudi nationals, but for sure there will still be requirement for some expatriate workers to service them. So I think it will be a combination of both local and internet and expatriate workers on them. Okay, well, I think that's I think I've answered most of the comments and questions during this webinar. I hope you found it useful and enjoyable, insightful. Again, I just wish to point out, if you want to know any more details about the exhibition coming up, you've got the Big Five Saudi web address here. The date is March next year. And if you do have any questions, please either contact myself, edward.james@meed.com, or you can contact DMG directly at the contacts here. So the presentation will be made available. It is being recorded. You will get a link soon. It will go up on YouTube as well. And I hope that you've had I've answered all your questions and queries, and you found this interesting. And I wish you all the best of luck with your opportunities in the kingdom. And I hope to see you very soon next year in Jeddah at the Big Five, and alternatively before then at our next webinar sometime in September. Thank you again, and I wish you all a very good day. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for attending. Obviously we will be sending this webinar to everyone within the next few days so that you'll have all the online content, and we will include the questions that were asked and answered as well. I just want to remind everyone, if you're looking to open up in the region and looking to meet developers, contractors, anyone who's looking to source new materials in Saudi Arabia, the Big Five Saudi is an excellent option. We attract over 15,000 visitors over 4 days, and it really is the best way to showcase your products or services that you provide for construction all in one place and meet everyone under one roof. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you for the next edition in September. Thank you.